This is the Supernote Nomad. It's an e-ink tablet that allows you to take notes in a digital format, but much more like a paper notebook. You can write on it, you can use different types of pens, and you can sync these notes to your devices. I had ignored the space of e-ink tablets for a number of years because they were really quite expensive, and I didn't really think the features matched up with my use case. But after doing a video on my hybrid productivity system, which you could check out over here, someone commented and noted, hey, you should check out the Supernote Nomad, and recommended that this was a great hybrid notebook type device. And so I reached out to Supernote and said, hey, would you be willing to send me a device so I could do a review on the YouTube channel? And they happily agreed. So they provided me this device for free along with the cover and the pen, but they are not sponsoring this video. All of these viewpoints that I have are mine and mine alone, because today I want to answer the question, can the Supernote Nomad PKM? And there's two ways that we're going to look at it. First is directly on device, and then secondly, integrating with your larger PKM system overall. Let's dive in. So this is the Supernote Nomad. You can see that I have a flips cover here, which is nice. It's magnetic, so you can take the device out. Really super handy. There are a number of different pen choices you can get with it too. This one is the Lamy Safari style one. It's actually 2 pens in one. It has on one side where you can twist and turn, it has a ceramic nib on it for writing on the tablet. The nice part about Supernote's nibs is that because they're ceramic, you're supposed to never need to replace them, which is great. On the other side too, it's just the pen. So if you're doing some writing on paper, it's really handy. So I want to walk through a couple of things on this Supernote experience. I'm just going to fold this cover back so it's a little easier to center the device as well. You have this toolbar up at the top that has all your writing tools, and you can see very faintly on the left and right here, these lines. If you swipe on these up and down, this is redo and undo, up and down on the left, and then up on the right refreshes the screen, and down on the right brings up a contextual menu for the overall device. These are important things to know as you're working with the device. Also, the pens that come with the Supernote don't have a button on them so that you can quickly change between, say, the eraser tool or the select tool. So when you're writing, I'll just write something here. If you want to actually erase something, you have to put 2 fingers down on this left bar and then circle it, and then it'll erase it. So it's a two-handed experience. I mean, it's really no different than writing with a pen and paper. So I'll write that same thing again here, and you can just scribble it out as well like you would on paper. But if you actually want to delete stuff, it's more of a two-handed experience at this moment in time. But I will say writing on this e-ink tablet feels very similar to writing on paper. It's a smooth experience. Many have described it as a sort of a felt marker feeling. It's a little bit more slippery than a nice pen on a piece of paper. I think a Pilot G2 or something of that sort. I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting into the writing experience because there are tons of reviews of this device that get way further into it than I can or will in this video. But the most important thing to know is that it writes like a notebook. It feels decent. The fact that it's static on screen here with the e-ink makes it feel permanent in your space versus just this ever-changing screen, which is really nice. You do have to make some changes right out the gate too. For example, the way, if I get into the right context menu here, if I go into settings, you want to go into, I believe, display and input. Actually, it's under battery. You want to change the auto sleep because by default it's set to like 2 or 5 minutes. And while this is great if you are constantly using the device, if you want to leave it sitting on your desk to capture notes off to the side of your keyboard or something like I do, having it set auto sleep for a longer duration will make that experience a lot better. We're here to talk about, can the Supernote Nomad PKM. And in my mind, this is where it's all about organizational capabilities. Yes, you can write. Yes, you can add tasks into your notes, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But the big thing is, can you find information quickly and easily after you've captured it in some way? We'll go back to the main menu and you can see this is really what you get out of the box with Supernote. I haven't done a ton of organization in this myself, but you can create folders, which is really handy. I'm just going to create this one as projects and then hit enter. So then I have a subfolder under note that says projects, and I can create a new note here. And you can do real-time recognition, which just sends your handwriting up to the cloud. It'll automatically OCR your handwriting, so you have that available if you want. You don't have to do that. And then there's a number of templates that you can use for background, including ruled. You can also do grids and other different college ruled, Cornell note style, and so forth on here. You can add your custom ones if you would like to as well, which is really handy if you are into custom templated planners and so forth, if you use GoodNotes or something to that effect. I'm just going to create one on a ruled line. Personally, I have found that the ruled line is easier to navigate on this device. It's easier to see versus I'm typically a dot grid notebook person, and the dot grid is just a little harder to see and navigate here. So I've created this note inside of my projects folder. I'm just going to title this the Supernote Video Review. All right, so there's some neat things that you can do inside of the Nomad to add some metadata to your notes. So I'm going to grab the lasso tool here up at the top, and I'm going to select this. And I'm going to turn this into a heading. And so you can see there's a number of different headers here. Headers can be searched on the Nomad, but then I'm also going to say I need to record, if I grab the right tool. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing and lasso tool this. I can then actually create this as a to-do. So there's a little calendar icon right here. And what I will do is tap on that and I'll hit the to-do button. So you can see this adds a new task, which is record the video shots. You can see it's already OCR'd it. You can add a date in there if you want to. I'm just going to hit add. We'll come back to this later in just a few moments. And there's no visual indicator here that there is a task. But that's all right. The other way that you can organize these is by keyword. And so I'm going to actually keyword the whole note. You can keyword different selections, and I hit the wrong thing again here. I'm going to go to the ellipsis bar or note up here, button rather, and I'm going to click add keyword. So you can see I have a few keywords that are already created here. I am going to use effective videos and content, which just gives me a general category of where this belongs. And that's that. I can also create links to other notes as well. And so if I have some thoughts that I want to link into here, again, I will select that, and then I'll hit this link button. So then I can link to another page in a current file, recent files, other files, or a web page. I'm going to go recent files. Now, the downside here is if you don't rename your notes, what you will run into is if you're just using tagging and keywords for organization and understanding what things are, you don't see that on these pages. And so it's a little tricky to know which is which. I believe this is the note that I want, though, because it's the date that I was looking at. You can see there's an underline here with a link, and if I wanted to tap on that with my finger, it will take me into that note, which is really quite handy. And I believe I can go back right to that using the button down at the bottom, which is really helpful. If I go back to the notes list, you can see here that underneath of the note name, it says effective videos and content. That allows me to see this is what this is relating to. You can have a tag for different projects that you have, or you can go through the process, actually rename the notes throughout creating them. It's a little bit clunkier to do that because you don't have OCR'd handwriting to rename those notes. You do have to use the keyboard. Okay, so we talked about folders and tagging. We talked about tasks a little bit. Just so you're aware, if you want to get to your full task list, you just swipe down on this right bar, click on to do, and then this will enter into your task system. So there's really it's a rudimentary task system, a task manager built into your Supernote Nomad. I do want to get back. So again, there's no menu item to get back here. You do have to swipe down and click on files and then back into your file system. So far, there's all of the features that you need to create a self-contained personal knowledge management system, albeit maybe a little bit of a rudimentary one, inside of the Supernote Nomad. One thing we haven't talked about yet is search. So if I swipe down from the top, you get this fancy little menu bar that comes down here. You can see your date and time, your battery level. You can get to settings, and then you can also search. So I'll open up search here. You can search across all file formats. I'm going to search for Supernote. If I can type. The typing experience on this is a little bit better than the Kindle, so I'll give them that. And it really doesn't give me anything. So I wonder if that's because I'm looking for the file name. I'm looking for handwriting. Hit search. Nope. Let's go for keyword. You can see I could search for the Supernote review keyword. Search is a little goofy. I don't have all the kinks sorted out with it yet in my experience, but it does work. If you're going to use search pretty heavily, I would recommend leaning into keywords, but then also do the extra work to rename the files, because I haven't. There's a YouTuber out there, and I'll put a link up in the corner right here, that talks through this process of using keywords primarily on your Supernote Nomad, and I will make sure that you have access to that video if you're interested in checking out that methodology as well. So we've talked about PKM directly on device. What about if you want to integrate this into another PKM system? We'll go over to the computer in just a second to talk about that experience because it's a little less than stellar. However, I want to show you from your device how to get your notes off, and so you can access them in other tools or services. So to do that, again, we'll swipe down on this right bar. We'll go to settings, and then we'll go to drive. And there are a few options here. You can sync to and create a Supernote Cloud account. This allows you to sync all of your notes and to-dos and calendar items that you've created on here into the Supernote partner apps on your mobile devices, iOS, iPhone, Android, and then also desktop, which is on Windows and Mac OS at this moment in time. I've opted not to do that at this moment, but overall, you do have other options to sync through Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive. To set this up is really easy. All you have to do is tap on Authorize. It will pull up a QR code. It'll send you over to your Dropbox login screen, and it'll authorize Supernote as an app. I will say that you have to go in and select folders. And so I'm not going to go through this here because it does display some personal information as far as my email address and such that's associated with my Dropbox account. But you go in, you select the folders that you want to sync, and you have to back out here. And again, you swipe down from the top. And this icon here, the little cloud with the up and down arrow, you have to tap that in order to initiate a sync with Dropbox. And then it'll get everything uploaded up to your Dropbox folder. That's completed. And then the other thing that you're going to want to do on this device, because as you'll see in just a moment when we hop over to the computer, you're not able to open your note files here. So you can see it's ending in a .note extension. You can't open those on macOS. There's no app to open those. There's no way to actually dig into those outside of the Supernote Partner app. So if you want access to these files into a different system, such as Obsidian or Apple Notes, you do have to export. So I will tap on this note here, and then tap on the ellipses icon up here, which brings up the note menu. And then we'll go down to the bottom. Actually, it's over here. It's interesting because it was, the menus have changed. On another note I exported, export was down here, but it's actually up here. So just be aware of that. I'm going to tap on export, and then you can select the pages that you want to export, which file format, PNG, PDF, text, or docx, and then you click export. And then we'll do original. You can also do vector. I'm going to hit OK. You can hit jump to, but I want to show you where this file exists. So I'm going to go up to the file button up here, and then I'll tap on Supernote in the directory structure. And this is your root directory on the device. I'm going to tap export, and these are where your exported PDFs are. If you want to get stuff on your device, you can sync your inbox folder and then drag in PDFs that you're interested in reading on the device. You can also download the Kindle app. So if you're interested in reading Kindle books and highlighting Kindle books, you can get that installed on here. It is available in the settings to be able to do so. And there is potentially the possibility for more Android apps to be available on this device at some point in the future. It's just not ready as the time of this recording. So with that, we're going to head over to the computer so you can see what the experience is like in accessing your files that are synced, at least through Dropbox. There is an app that you can download for your Mac called the Supernote Partner app. I believe this is available on Windows as well. There's a version of this that's available for iOS devices, iPhone, and iPad. But the requirement is that you have to use the Supernote cloud service, which I've just opted not to sign up for at this moment in time. But you can sync all of your notes over, you can view them, you can manage your tasks. So if you create to-dos on your Supernote, those will sync over to this app as well. And then you can manage all of that right here. The Supernote Partner app is a great option if you're interested in creating a PKM experience directly on the Supernote device and keeping it there. But again, you have to export all of your notes into another system if you want to have them available in, say, Apple Notes or Obsidian. So what this will look like on your Mac if you've synced up for Dropbox is it'll create a folder called Supernote in your Dropbox folder. And if we open that up, whatever folders from your Supernote you've decided to sync over to Dropbox will come into here. If I go into the notes folder, these are the raw notes files that unfortunately you cannot access at this moment in time directly on your computer. You instead have to export them into PDFs. You can see this is an export of thoughts that I had for this specific review. Text is a little alias, but it's definitely workable, and it is what it is. It's not the easiest experience. Obviously, if you go the Supernote Cloud or the Supernote Partner app route, which I've opted not to do, the experience may be a little bit more seamless, but that's just the way I tend to choose to work. So can the Supernote Nomad PKM? Well, the answer is kind of. Frankly, the device is great at note-taking. It gives you the flexibility of something digital while still maintaining that feel of a paper notebook. You can add folders, you can tag, and right on device, you can organize pretty well into its own PKM system of sorts. You can access those files on an iOS device. Mac and desktop is a little bit clumsy yet at the moment, but where it starts to fall apart is when you want to integrate this into a broader workflow using another PKM tool like Apple Notes or Obsidian. When you have to start exporting individual notes into PDFs, that really starts to slow the process down. And while it is very much workable if you want to dedicate the time to it, for some, it may add a little too much friction to really pull this information over. That being said, comparing it to a physical notebook, you don't have to transcribe anything. You can simply export and drag your PDFs or whatever files you choose to export to into your PKM system of choice. So that comparison is much smoother and faster, but there's room to make it better. Now, I've mentioned my hybrid approach to productivity throughout this video. And if you're interested in learning more how I've tackled that over the last 5 years, check out this video over here.